Food bank, 4 till 6. Baby and toddlers, 9:45 to 11:45. Prayer for Rowhedge at St Lawrence School in the community room, which you access by just going up the main drive, and there's a little gate to the left. So then we've got Glow and the Well. I was trying to prepare for today, and this sort of psalm sort of kind of popped up because it was just after Lynsey sent me what she was going to talk on, and it just seemed appropriate, so I'm going to share it with you. It says, "You, God, are my God. Earnestly I seek you. I thirst for you. My whole being longs for you." My whole being longs for you in a dry and parched land where there is no water. I have seen you in the sanctuary and beheld your power and your glory. Because your love is better than life, my lips will glorify you. I will praise you as long as I live, and in your name I will lift up my hands. Yet a time is coming, and has now come, when the true worshippers will worship the Father in the Spirit and in truth, for they are the kind of worshippers the Father seeks. I'm going to hand over to Chris, who's going to read, I hope, from Matthew 4:1 to 11.
Then Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. After fasting for 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. The tempter came to him and said, "If you are the Son of God, tell these stones to become bread." Jesus answered, "It is written, man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God." Then the devil took him to the holy city and set him on the highest point of the temple. "If you are the Son of God," he said, "throw yourself down, for it is written, he will command his angels concerning you, and they will lift you up in their hands, so that you will not strike your foot against a stone." Jesus answered him, "It is also written, do not put the Lord your God to the test." Again, the devil took him to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their splendor. "All this I will give to you," he said, "if you will bow down and worship me." Jesus said to him, "Away from me, Satan, for it is written, worship the Lord your God and serve him only." Then the devil left him, and angels came and attended to him.
It's really lovely to be sitting next to you, Cos, here. Thank you for leading us. Normally see you up there, so it's really lovely. And real pleasure. And thank you for taking a couple of words of a WhatsApp message and listening and praying and leading us in the way with the theme that you have, because I think you've been really alert to what I hope I've been alert to as well, because good job I had a lid on that. Because I feel that is perhaps what we need to be pondering today, Jesus letting go of all of that power and laying it all down for us. So that is what we're going to think about a bit this morning. We're in Lent, and Lent naturally takes us to that story of Jesus in the wilderness. And I know I don't know if others find, I kind of have stories that sit with me for a while and I kind of journey with them, and they keep propping up, and new experiences happen that kind of are relevant to the stories. And that's what I've been sort of sensing with the story of the wilderness and Jesus in the wilderness over this sort of Lent period. I'm not particularly, as a non-conformist Christian, I'm not particularly follow all the festivals and seasons in quite the same way as some people do in churches, but there's something about this story at Lent. And also walking through the woods, it's really, I don't know if you've found it this year more than normal. It feels really barren and bare walking through. There's something about it this year that feels very sort of barren and bare. the trees. I've walked with several people in our woods this last week, and everyone's gone, what's going on? What's happened? So actually around us there's something happening like that, of this kind of this barrenness and this bareness. But if you look closely, if you stop and look closely, I don't know what people are noticing. Anyone noticing anything if you stop and look closely? Yeah, it's coming as usual. Of course it is. Yeah. I have a really dry pot of soil in that someone gave me some bulbs a couple of years ago, and I planted them. They grew, and then they just dried out. And I'm not very good. Don't give me indoor plants. I'm not good. I like the forest because that all looks after itself. I'm not a gardener either. And every year it's all really, really dried out, and I think, oh well, I'll chuck that away at some point, that pot. And every year green comes back out of it. And it's done it again. I suddenly look over and there's green shooting out of it. So I don't even have to cultivate it. I'm not watering it. I'm not doing anything, and it still manages to grow. So, just an amazing sign of that life is still there, even when we can't see it. So thinking about this wilderness story, I mean, there's big things in this story. There's big kind of overarching things about the story of the Bible and theology. There's the fact that Matthew really wants to help people understand that Jesus is like a new Moses. He'll soon go up on a mountain and be given the law of God. The 40 years in the wilderness is represented in that 40 days. There's something about the story of Jesus confronting evil. This is going to be what he's going to be confronting right the way through to the cross and defeating that evil through the resurrection. So those are those really big stories that are going on when we find Jesus in the wilderness. They're part of all of that. But you might have got used to me now if I'm coming, is to also think about other ways we can encounter Bible stories and ways that we can pray through them, and ways that we can journey with them, ways that we can walk alongside Jesus in the stories. So if you want book recommendations about the theology, I can give you those, or you can Google those. if that's piqued your interest, you can go and do that. But we're going to sort of take a journey through with Jesus in the wilderness, connecting that with our own lives and our own journeys and the way that we might pray through it. So, first of all, I'm just going to say the word wilderness. And I wonder, just for a moment, pause. What does that word conjure up for you in your mind? What are your images of wilderness? They could be really, really different, There could be ones that feel obvious and ones that, oh, that surprised me. I didn't realise I'd think about that when I thought about wilderness. So I wonder, what does that word bring up? What do you see? What images? What thoughts or memories or imaginings? Without purpose. Oh, yeah, okay. Without purpose. Any other? Feeling lost, yes. So feeling lost without purpose. Stumbling in the dark. Wow, yes. There's peace. Yes. All these different experiences and looking for a path. Okay, so we've already got a sort of diversity of experiences or kind of imaginings and thinkings about wilderness. Any others? Dry. So your wilderness is a dry wilderness, as in what you're imagining. It's a dry wilderness. Yeah. Lonely and empty. So wilderness is lonely and empty. Any others? Churchless. Being part of church. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, so there's lots of different aspects to the wilderness. There's very difficult feelings. There's paying attention and noticing. There's the going through it. There is life if you look. Actually, it can be a peaceful place. It might feel lonely, or it might be peaceful to be in that sort of solitary place. Fantastic, thank you. So we're already praying in a way because we're already just allowing that word to speak to us and speak to us about our experiences. 5 years ago today, we all turned on the telly and saw Boris Johnson tell us to stay at home. So that might have felt like a wilderness. And actually, if we all spoke about our experiences of that, they might be as diverse as what we've just heard. That it might have felt like a peaceful time for some people, everything stopped in the rush, and for some people felt like a very barren and difficult time. The wildernesses are often, as you said, Bernie, those places that we have to journey through. Sometimes they're actually chosen. They're places that we choose to go. Now, I need to confront something. I need to stand in this lonely place because I've got to choose to do the right thing. And to do the right thing, I'm going to have to be lonely and be away, separate from everybody else. Or it's I need to deal with this, just me and God. And sometimes, often, the wilderness is enforced on us. It's like the bear hunt, a bit like as Barney said. You can't go over it. Come on then, with me. You can't go over it. You can't go under it. You've got to go through it. Yeah. So maybe you have sort of memories of a wilderness experience that are coming up for you now. Maybe you feel like you're in a wilderness at the moment. And we can bring that to God. We can bring that to God today. Wildernesses can be very confrontational. We can be faced with very raw versions of ourselves. We might feel helpless. We might think and feel things that we'd rather not think and feel. We might feel tempted to force a solution, a way out. We might want to bury our heads in the sand. And that's because we are normal human beings. It's perfectly normal to struggle in the wilderness. Jesus struggled in the wilderness. That wasn't just, a sense of, there's a little voice on my shoulder and I'm going to ping it off. The tempter's going to have worked hard on Jesus and known what buttons to press. He was tempted. He wasn't immune to having his vulnerabilities tested. He felt the full force of the battle that we find ourselves in as well. And he shows a solidarity with us, going to that place where everything is stripped away, being in need, finding himself confronted by the most difficult thoughts and temptations. He had just been baptized and he'd been commissioned for his ministry and his mission. And when he was baptized, people saw the Holy Spirit come down like a dove and say, "This is my son. This is my son with whom I'm well pleased." That acknowledgement from God of Jesus' divinity, of his position, of his power. And then what happened next? It's really unexpected. He goes into the wilderness. He goes through those 40 days and he's tempted to use that divinity, that position and that power. And he says, no. He refuses to follow the ways of the world, the ways of might and control. He shows us that God's way, as we've been singing about, is about humility, about letting go, about coming with empty hands. And that sets the tone for his whole ministry. We find throughout his life this simple way of staying present to the person in front of him, being willing to be interrupted, asking what other people's needs are, allowing himself to be cared for by others, telling stories, eating with people, acting with compassion, walking in the margins and showing the people that he met there that there was the kingdom of God that was close to them. And from that place of humility, he also spoke truth to power. That's quite a wilderness place to be, confronting injustice. He remained focused on his ultimate task. He moved to a new town when he needed to. He never got caught up in the adulation of people or their desires to use his power to reach their goals. And all of that was held by his relationship with his Father, his life of prayer, taking himself away from the noise and the activity of life to be with God, often in quite solitary and wilderness type places, centering himself in a relationship and finding his identity there. And I think that's a hard life for any of us to emulate, living in this world we live in. But it's encouraging too, I think, that our life with Jesus isn't about impressive tasks. It's not about having power and influence. It's about simply being present to what and to who is around us, just doing what's in our hands, not needing to control anything, not needing to fix anyone, being open to God, healing our hearts and making them wide enough to embrace our neighbour and show that the kingdom of God is near to all of us. I think one aspect of wilderness times is finding out a bit more of who we are, what's really important, maybe how little we have, perhaps how surprisingly resilient we can be, how dependent we are, how what we've trusted in sometimes turns out to have been fake and false, how we've made unhelpful attachments. We can learn what faith looks like. Maybe it looks different to what we thought it was. And I wonder if Jesus knew that he had to center himself in that place to be prepared, to be present to people around him. People were going to expect a lot of him, and he would be tired, and he would be hungry, and he would be overwhelmed by the task at times. We see that in the garden. He was overwhelmed by what was happening to him. And I wonder if, as he set out on his ministry, he knew he needed to take time with all those things that were likely to get at him in the difficult moments. I wonder if he had a sense of how lonely, talked about loneliness, how lonely it was going to be, even if he was surrounded by crowds of people. He might feel lonely at times, and he needed to confront that loneliness right from the start and hold on to God in it. The writer Brené Brown talks about the loneliness of the wilderness. She describes how when we know that we have to choose a way to live that is different, when we are deciding to stop playing the games of this world, when we refuse to do what it takes just to fit in, it is like being in a wilderness. But she also encourages us that that is the place where we can most truly be who we're made to be. Jesus chose to make himself vulnerable, not ride high into the world from that amazing declaration at his baptism. Philippians 2 says it, we've sung it. Jesus always had the nature of God, but he did not think that by force he should try to remain equal with God. Instead of this, of his own free will, he gave up all he had and took the nature of a servant. He faced extreme physical need in his hunger. He faced the question of, is God really with me? Can I really trust God? He faced the desire to take control, to force through a solution to the problems of this world, to take power and make sure he'd be able to make everyone behave and do what they should do to make this world a better place, to make things right. But we know that in his life he wasn't self-sufficient. He always depended on others to provide his needs, to put a roof over his head, to feed him. And what connection that must have brought every time he was a guest at a table. So many things happened. And when other people couldn't provide food and drink, then God would give them all enough loaves and fish and wine at a wedding. And Jesus' pattern of trust, it wasn't in grand gestures of faith. It wasn't in announcing on the street corners how pious and how holy he is. Look at me, I'm the Son of God. He took himself off to quiet places to sit with God and pray and listen. He trusted in the moment, each moment, that he would have what he needed to respond to the situation in front of him. And of course, in response to the evil in this world, it wasn't to rise up, to become king, to take control, to subdue it. It was to let go of all control. It was to understand that only love can drive out evil. It's not force or violence that will do it. That will always perpetuate more evil and more violence. You couldn't have anything more different to what we're seeing in our world right now. Some of our world leaders could do with some formation in the wilderness. You can often tell who's been willing to go to that place and let it transform them, and who have just always forced their way through without learning a single lesson. But perhaps there's also another way of seeing the wilderness. We've already heard it in this room. Possibly sometimes it's a place of freedom, peace. Maybe it's a popular concept now. Maybe there's a rewilding that needs to happen in us, where we stop trying to control it all, stop trying to keep it all neat and tidy and cultivated. Perhaps there's opportunity for growth and learning, finding new depths in life. Maybe there's even adventure. Could there be new connection with others who are also in the wilderness? Maybe allowing the vulnerability of the wilderness that it brings means that we have to open up and reach out to God and to others in a new way. Could it be that that's where we're most likely to meet Jesus? So I'm going to invite you to hold that word wilderness again. Just pause, breathe. Don't try to understand it, just hold that word wilderness. Is it a wasteland? Is it teeming with life? Or is it something else? Does it feel welcoming or frightening? Or something else? Or somewhere in between? It's okay to notice how it feels, because that's your unique experience. There is no right or wrong. If you feel like you're in the wilderness, if it feels overwhelming, then in this silent, quiet moment, tell God about that. But if the word wilderness is raising in you a sense of opportunity or a call to step out, ask God what you're being invited into. I'm going to play a bit of music. There is the words for it on a piece of paper. I'm just going to share around. There's an image on the piece of paper as well. And as we listen to the music, it's not necessarily for you to listen and read the words if that's not what you want to do. It might be looking at the image. It might be just closing your eyes and pondering on something that has emerged for you today, something that you feel maybe there's something to hear here, to listen to, or maybe you just want to continue a conversation with God about what it means for you right now if you think about that kind of wilderness place that you're experiencing or sometimes experience. Maybe you have a sense of something that even when it's felt really difficult, you feel grateful for, like that little flower. Just something, a little bit of life that is poking up, or you've noticed one time in the past when you've been in that wilderness place that you've noticed it's also somewhere where you've seen something beautiful and some new life.